All right, folks, we're going to talk a little bit about fig mites and the difference between fig mites and fig mosaic virus. A little bit of confusion. I think Ross talked about this before, but based on some postings on our figs and what Eric uncovered out there, I think I pretty much nailed down what I think are the symptoms of fig mites and talk a little bit briefly about what you can do about them. And I think everybody needs to do this, and whether or not you have, whether you can tell whether or not you have fig mites, the prevention is easy enough. I'm going to show you a tree. This is a cutting that I just put in ground here in this dahlia garden, and I forgot what it even is, folks. So, all right, so we're looking at some really healthy growth in this. Look at this leaf. Perfect, there's no splotches or anything. And then look over here. This is not fig mosaic, this is fig mites. Fig mites are invisible to the naked eye. It gets worse as you go up. So if you go down lower, you don't see hardly any. You see some spotting here. None down here, none lower, none on this branch. There's 3 big branches. 2 of them perfectly fine, but one of them has a lot of this spotting. This is 100% fig mites, and what's going to happen is, if it gets bad, and it depends on what the ambient conditions are and so on, I think if you fertilize too much also, it encourages the fig mites. I'm not sure about that. So what you want to do is you want to put sulfur every couple weeks, dry powdered sulfur for garden. Bonide has one, or you can use wettable sulfur. And what I've done is I've just put the dried powder sulfur and dusted right at the growth tips, and that's knocked them out. Or knocked them down pretty well. But you can also do the wettable sulfur and same stuff probably, and you can get the undersides, so they're going to be under there as well. So a couple ways to do it. I just did the tips, that's where they kind of really grow and come out of, and but probably a better solution is to read the packaging and do the wettable sulfur. That way you can spray the whole plant down the back, etc. So this is my Saint Germain tree, and that's used to be the apical bud right there. But fig mites, if they get too strong, will kill that apical bud, and then you get the branching coming off the side. Here's another example. This is Bordeaux grease, and fig mites killed the apical bud, and so the tree started growing from another bud. And this is only just barely above waist high, whereas other trees that were cuttings from this year are 7 foot tall. Here's a Mosaic that was taken from a mother tree, and it's now about 6 foot tall. But when the fig mites hit, the node spacing got real tight and the tree just wasn't growing. And now that it's done with the fig mites, after being treated, your node spacing is much bigger. And I haven't given it any additional fertilizer or anything. It's just got osmocote inside. All right, so let's compare with fig mosaic virus. This is a Nuestra Senora del Carmen, and this main stem is just nasty looking. It's all bent. So it doesn't grow straight like a healthy tree. So there's fig mosaic virus, much different. The leaves are deformed. That's your telltale sign, deformed leaves. Okay. Deformed leaves. Pretty easy to recognize the difference. Look at that. Very different from You can see it right there. Very different from fig mites. Now, if you have a tree like this, you can also put the sulfur on, because you may also, in addition to fig mosaic, have the fig mites, and the mites could also spread the fig mosaic. So either way, the solution should be the same. To try the sulfur, and there's other stuff that's out there much more expensive that you can use. Oberon SC is another one that you can get $30 for a 1 ounce, and I think you just use a couple drops for a sprayer bottle. So fig mosaic, a lot of times people say you can't do anything for it, but you have to recognize that you may have fig mites in addition to or instead of fig mosaic, so you have to treat it accordingly.